It's back to school season, so I thought I'd cake a jar of peanut butter.
Take it away, yo.
Don't you mean cake it away, yo?
Damn it. I missed a really good opportunity there.
I mean, I feel like it's company policy. We just don't ever use the word take. I'm gonna take advantage of the fact that... So I've decided to cake a jar of peanut butter, and I'm really happy because it gives me another opportunity to bake my peanut butter cake. I've only made it once. I used it in my giant Reese peanut butter cup cakes, except this time I'm gonna put chocolate chips instead of peanut butter chips because I secretly wish peanut butter and chocolate were always together. I've baked 3 peanut butter chocolate chip cakes. I'm going to remove them from their pans. They're quite small. I'm not used to that. Like anytime I pull out small cakes, even Cengiz isn't used to it. It feels like, where's the rest of it? But this is what I need to make a jar. So now I'm going to level them, cut the caramelization away from the bottom, and layer each cake in 2. Now I'm going to trim the caramelization away from the sides. You can use an upside down cake pan or anything that is circular and fits within the caramelization. It's time to simple syrup these gorgeous chocolate chip peanut butter layers. Sir Squeeze did an excellent job. He's ready for back to school. Now I'm going to fill and stack these cakes with chocolate ganache. I think it's the perfect complement to the type of cake I baked. I secretly wish peanut butter and chocolate were always together. I'm also using chocolate ganache because the cake is sort of like a thin cylinder, I need to use the sturdiest filling I possibly can, and ganache is great for that. It sets up really, really quick. But as I fill and stack, I realize my cake should be a bit taller. So I'm glad I always think about this. I had actually baked an extra cake just in case. So I'm going to remove it from the fridge now, quickly level, decaramelize, and layer, and I'm gonna add 1 more layer of cake.
Do you always bake an extra cake, yo?
Yes, if I'm making something that I'm replicating, see what I did there?
Yes.
Then I always bake extra cake because the measurements are super important. But if I'm making a tiered cake or something that I've invented, I don't necessarily bake extra cake because it can be any size, or some cakes allow me to use the humps. Now that the ganache is fully chilled and my cake is chilled, I'm going to carve this cake. The shape I'm creating is the jar without the lid. So that's what I'm looking at, and I'm gonna use a ruler to just mark how high up I want that taper to go, and then I'm going to taper in. Then I can put a circle on top, and it's easier to see that angle if I'm always carving at the top as opposed to trying to look under the cake when it's not as clear. Now that I'm happy with the shape, I can crumb coat and chill this cake with some more chocolate ganache. Technically, peanut butter is banned in most schools, but if you're going to school at home, you can have all the peanut butter sandwiches you want.
Even better reason to cake it because it's sort of not getting the shine it used to.
No, not at all. Not at all. I feel like peanut butter was the star of the show when I was a kid. The ganache is chilled, so I'm going to go in and ice this cake. I am going to use a bench scraper to help with the straight sides of the jar, and then I'm using small spatulas to help with the angle. This was tricky because I need to ice it perfectly so those angles are correct. Even though I know my cake is straight, if the angles are off, things like that can sometimes make your cake look like it is lopsided or crooked. So I'm just really keeping that in mind as I'm icing, and I'm really happy I'm using ganache. Well, it just sets up so much faster than buttercream. And at the end of the day, even when you're smoothing fondant over top, you can always smush buttercream if your cake is not perfectly cold. Whereas ganache really sets well, so I'm glad I chose it. For all of the cakes I build, I have a set of core recipes that are my go-to, and I share all of them with you in my free Cake and Icing Basics program. This includes my ultimate vanilla cake, ultimate chocolate cake, Italian meringue buttercream, simple syrup, ganache, a whole lot of goodness. And now, after making this peanut butter jar, I've decided to include this peanut butter cake recipe for you as well. In this program, there are step-by-step video tutorials with recipes, as well as my tips and tricks. Don't forget, it's absolutely free and you can sign up in the description below. Whether you're new at baking or just looking to up your recipe collection, this is a great place to start. While my cake is chilling, I want to knead some spices into my peanut butter colored fondant. So I had pre-colored some fondant to look like peanut butter, and even when peanut butter is smooth, you still see little speckles within it. So I thought I'm gonna knead in some cinnamon and some nutmeg because I'm half Grenadian and I have to put nutmeg in as many things as I can. I have to. It's policy. It's Grenadian policy, actually.
It is.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna start to cover this cake. The first thing I wanna do is roll out a little bit of my peanut butter colored fondant into a circle, and then I'm gonna use a circle cutter to cut out a circle that is the size of the circle at the top of the cake.
My brain.
Yeah, circle back, Jocelyn, circle back. Stay with me. Basically, I wanna cover the top of the cake first because that's where the lid will rest. So I always keep a little bowl of water and a brush handy, and that way I can just brush my ganache quickly with water, and that will help my fondant stick. Now that the top is covered, I'm gonna cover the jar. So I brush the ganache with water, I roll out my peanut butter colored fondant, making sure it's long enough to go around the circumference of the cake and that it's tall enough for the height of the cake. And then I just quickly reverse roll it up on a French rolling pin and unravel it around the cake. Now I need to cut a clean seam at the back of the jar. What I like to do, of course, is use a ruler and line it up where the fondant overlaps itself. Why am I doing this? The footage is better. I constantly do this.
You don't have to mime it out for us.
I mime it out. Can we just do an episode where all I do is mime?
No.
Why? People would love that.
No. Maybe ask them, if they love it.
Yes, audience, tell me below. Take the opportunity and tell me, would you like me to just mime a whole video? I want to hide the seam because you know how I feel about that. I made a little bit of fondant paste with my fondant, some clear food grade alcohol, and then I just sort of smash it all together into a paste, and I use a spatula just to sort of ice it over the seam and smooth it out. You know, the seam hider hasn't been showing up to help me. Woo! I heard they actually integrated her into the next Avengers movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's top secret.
Oh, it's actually really nice now.
It's very secret, yeah. So she's on this like huge workout regimen.
I see a seam down there! You're joking.
You know, she needs abs. They're getting her a new costume. Yeah, so that's why she hasn't been here, if you're wondering.
It's almost like you're the seam hider.
We have a lot of similarities, but no. Now I need to roll out the colors that I will use for the label of this jar. So I'm rolling out some red, green, yellow, blue, as well as some white gum paste, mainly for the letters. I strategically picked the brand of peanut butter I wanted to make based on the label. I was like, nope, too difficult. Nope, a person's face. Nope. So I picked Jif. I basically just printed a template, which is the label, and I'm gonna cut out the various parts. The letter, the little, there was like a little, I don't know what to call that.
I like the dance move though. Yes.
Yeah, whatever this is.
Oh, so you're talking about the protein badge.
Yeah, the protein badge, exactly. There's 3 colors behind the word Jif. So I've got to cut out all those bits and pieces. It's kind of like when I'm making a character's face on a cake, I do the same thing. Now I need to write with food coloring markers on the parts that need writing. So the badge, of course, I had to write 7 grams of protein. Jif has like a shadow, so I had to add the black shadows to each one of the letters. What else did I do? Oh, I had to write that it was creamy. Very important. Very important. I feel like people are really particular to creamy versus crunchy. Who are you? And tell me who you are. Tell me who you are, Jocelyn.
I am 100% crunchy.
2! Me too. Cengiz?
Crunchy.
Good. Oh, glad you can stay. Guys, tell me below. smooth or crunchy? We ask the serious questions here on How to Cake It. I did all that stuff and then I can add it to the jar very carefully. You have to pick it up and put it on the cake and you don't want to smudge everything you just did. Yeah, so I procrastinated.
I think it's more procrasticate, to be honest.
Procrasticate! Oh my gosh, can we TM that? Can we trademark that? Because I procrasticate a lot. Hi, I'm Yolanda Gampp and I am a procrastinator. And then I added all of the details and I like to use the leftover piece of the template, like a stencil, to help me line things up. So the most difficult part about this is you're doing something that requires such care and time, but you need to do it as quick as you can so that your gum paste doesn't dry, and then you can pick it up and wrap it around the cake. You'll know if your gum paste has dried because if you go to wrap it around the cake, it'll physically crack, and that means you'd have to start again. This is the reason for my procrastinating. Feels like doom. On my Vegemite jar, I made the lid out of a piece of cake. But for this jar, I actually decided to just use the lid of my actual Jif jar. I've rolled out some red fondant. I've rolled out a little circle for the top of the lid, and then I've rolled out a band that is long enough to go around the circumference of the lid. Now I'm going to use a strip cutter to indent that band all the way along because the lid has vertical lines running through it, like vertical indents. So I'm just very carefully gonna line up my strip cutter and go all along the band. Now I'm going to brush the plastic lid with piping gel. That will be the glue that holds the fondant onto it. And then I'm gonna use a circle cutter to cut out the perfect size circle and lay it on top of the lid and smooth it out. Now I want to measure the height of my lid and cut a band of that textured fondant slightly higher because the lid looks like it has a lip. So I cut a band, wrap that around the lid, cut a clean seam at the back, and it's just the perfect lid. And what's great is it's so light. So I know because my cake is tall and slim, at this point I'm really worried about weight because I didn't put a board or dowels in it because I want that cut. You know the cut I'm talking about. Before I add this beautiful lid to my jar of peanut butter, there's one more thing I want to do, and that is create some sheen. So I'm going to dilute a little bit of piping gel just to make it a bit thinner, and I'm going to brush it on the cake above and below the label. Label is on, it's got that manufactured plastic sheen. Now I'm going to carefully pick up my lid and place my peanut butter jar lid on top. I'm ready to make school lunches. This is the moment that I notice you guys love on Instagram, on YouTube, and I think it's just really cool for people to see, to look at something and think it's a jar of peanut butter and then find out that it's not. If you like this cake, please subscribe to this channel because there's more where that came from. And if you need more cake now, take the opportunity and click here.